In this lesson, we will cover the very important topics of saved scenes, display templates, and the viewing history. If you're following along with me, I will be using line 2 from the Laurentian Basin project as an example. You might want to pause the video here and open it up. Scenes, templates, and the viewing history are all located on the Scenes tab of the display window, which you can see here. Saved scenes, which we've talked about earlier, are a way of permanently saving a view. They are incredibly useful, especially if you see something of interest that you might want to share with others. And you will see a lot of things of interest, because the Explorer is all about performing an incredibly high-detailed examination of your seismic. Much of what it reveals is fascinating and thought-provoking, and saved scenes give you a way of permanently saving the view and attaching notes to it so that you can come back and re-examine it later. Display templates, which you see here, are a way of changing display types without having to set all the individual properties. As you progress in your understanding of the Explorer, there will be a lot of occasions where you want to go back and look at your seismic in more familiar ways. You probably have decades of experience looking at seismic as variable density or grayscale displays. The Explorer lets you look at what lies beyond those displays, and what lies beyond them is fascinating. Wave field displays are a new world and a new experience, but sometimes it is useful to go back and ground yourself in the familiar. It helps you make the transition, and one of the primary purposes of display templates is to let you do that efficiently. As for the viewing history, it is a way of stacking up a series of scenes which you have just watched me do, so that you can go back and replay them. The best way to understand them is that they are a temporary series of saved scenes. They disappear when you close a window. That is a brief overview of the three. What I will do now is give you an example of how you might use the three together in your visualization workflows. The term workflow is important here because right now you do not have a visualization workflow. All the interpretation software that you have now lets you look at seismic, but it does not let you visualize seismic. Seismic is always a backdrop to the other things the programs do. Visualizing it is not an important element. But with the Explorer, visualizing it is the primary element, and using it, visualizing and observing seismic become new skill sets. Part of learning the skill sets is developing the workflows that you need to use them efficiently. Save scenes, templates, and the viewing history are integral components of the workflows. So we will start with this line. There is nothing particularly remarkable about it. It was just the line I was examining when I started producing this video. But as with every line I examine, there are things about it that got my attention. This is the first formal exercise in the course. What you will do is use a combination of display templates and saved views to decide if you would accept the data as is or if you would send it back for more processing. Obviously, someone did accept the data, and we will assume that both they and the original seismic processor were highly competent professionals. But they were both working essentially blind because they were both confined to evaluating the quality of the data using most likely a grayscale display or a variable density display. It is doubtful if, given the size and complexity of the line, that they would use a wiggle trace display, but they might, so keep that in mind. The question you will set out to answer is whether this lack of visualization capability masked problems in the processing that had either the processor or the interpreter seen would have been further addressed. To begin, Select the grayscale display template because we want to get a sense of what the processor was looking at as they were working with the data. The area that I want you to look at first is this area on the left. What you see is the sudden appearance of noise trains. They are strange because they do not appear either above or below the zone. Obviously though, they were not thought sufficiently suspicious to warrant further investigation. Zoom into the area so that you can see it sufficiently well, and then click Save View. After that, select the Wavefield in Blue template. Then, rotate the view so you can see the effect of the noise trains on the event amplitudes. Again, save the view. Now, toggle between the two views and get a sense of how your perception of the noise changes. Obviously, the noise was acceptable as a grayscale, but is it acceptable as a wavefield display? At this point, turn off the Restore Position button. That lets you switch between views without moving the display. You will find that very useful. So what is happening here? If you zoom out and then zoom back into this area, you will notice the appearance of this horizontal event that is obviously a water bottom multiple. Notice that the noise trains, which seem to appear out of nowhere, begin here. They are obviously a result of the multiple removal process. What is not so obvious if you switch to using the grayscale display is how much of an overall effect these noise trains have on degrading the quality of the data for a long way beneath the multiple. On the grayscale display, it looks like there is simply no reflections. But if you switch back to the wavefield display, there are lots of reflections, but they are hashed out of existence by the noise. One of the points that I make often is that Seismic is far more capable than anyone ever imagined. This is one of the reasons why I say that. Almost every section that I look at, whether it is 2D or 3D, has dead zones like this. Using conventional displays, these zones look like there are no reflections in them. It's almost as if the Seismic took that zone off. But when you look at them using wavefield technologies, it is obvious that there are reflections there, but that the continuity of the events was destroyed by noise trains from one source or another. So the rest of this exercise is for you to use display templates and saved views, either with or without the restore position turned on, to get a full appreciation of the damage that the multiple removal has done to vast swaths of this line. It is also a good time to practice your scene handling techniques with the mouse. Remember, left mouse is click and drag, right mouse is zoom and rotate, and middle mouse rotates around both axes, and the mouse scroll zooms in and out. Have fun.